Hi, kindergartners. Welcome back to your TV classroom. Today is Monday, February 8th. How was your weekend? Was it fabulous? Mine was fabulous. I had a great time with Oliver. We played outside. We did puzzles. He said, "I love you, Mama." It was great. Before we begin today, let's check in with our zone. How are you feeling today? You know, Mabel, I was in the green zone, but it's getting close to lunchtime, and I think my body is needing some fuel, and I'm a little bit in the blue zone. Yes, Mr. Kevin?
Maybe you need Oliver to call up and say, "I love you."
I think that would probably make me awake and really happy. So, friends, what zone are you in today? How are you feeling? Make sure to check in with someone around you and let them know how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. It's Make It Monday. Let's take a look at our next slide. How many more blocks would you need to make a total of 8 blocks? Well, how many blocks do we have? We have 1, 2, 4 blocks. So how many more blocks do we need to make 8? If I have 4, then I could build on 5, 6, 7, 8. How many blocks did I draw? I drew 4. So we need 4 more blocks. How many do you see? 3. How many more do I need to make 9? 3 plus what equals 9? If you said 6, you've got it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 and 6 makes 9. How many more to make 7? Well, first we have to know what we see. What do we have already? We have 6. How many more make 7? Yeah, it's just one more because 6 and 7 are right next to each other. How many more to make 5? Pebble, you said 4 really fast. How did you know that? It's a 5 frame. So if there's only 1, then there's 4 more to make 5. Great job. How many more to make 10? How did you know that, Mabel? You counted how many empty boxes there were. Mabel said we need 3 more because there's 1, 2, 3 empty boxes. So how many black dots do we have? 7 plus 3 equals 10. Yes, we know our friends of 10. And the friend that goes with 3 to make 10 is 7. Great job, friends at home. Now today we're learning to make squares and rectangles by combining shapes. And we're going to do that in a minute. But before we begin, I want you to take a look at a picture and tell me how many triangles you see. Now, what is a triangle, Mabel? It's a closed shape, it's a figure. It has 3 straight sides, and the sides meet at 3 corners. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for shapes or figures that have 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners. Let's look. How many triangles do you see? What do you think, Pebble? Okay, what do you think, Mabel? You got the same answer. What are you thinking at home? How many triangles do you see? If you said 4, ding, 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 there are 4 triangles. Are you ready to see which ones are the triangles? This is a triangle. It has 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners. Here's another triangle. 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners. This is a special kind of triangle. It's an equilateral triangle. All the sides are the same. 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners. 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners. Now these other shapes, yes, Mr. Kevin?
I was just going to say, I notice it doesn't matter which way the triangle's facing.
It doesn't. The triangle can face whatever direction. It can have wide angles or small angles or right angles or be all the same side or have all different lengths. It doesn't matter. It has to have 3 straight sides that meet at 3 corners and be a figure, which is a closed shape. That's what makes it a triangle. It can be upside down or sideways. Doesn't matter. Still a triangle. Now this shape, this purple shape right here, that's a rectangle. How many sides does it have? It has 4 sides, not a triangle. What about this orange shape? How many sides does it have? 4 sides, not a triangle. We don't even have to think anymore. Not a triangle. What about the green shape? 4 sides, not a triangle. So we found 4 triangles. Now, Mr. Kevin, I need you just to show the desk up here. We don't need a slide. So we're going to do some making of shapes today. And at home, you're going to help me make shapes from these shapes. What shapes do I have here? I have some squares and I have some triangles. Now, we're going to play a game. We're going to pretend that I don't have any squares. They're all gone, no squares, but I need to make a triangle. If you have some triangle pattern blocks at home, you might go grab some. Go grab some of the squares and the triangles. You can play along with me. So what do I do? How do I make these triangles into squares? Okay, Mabel, you ready? Okay, let's try a few ways. Okay, so I'm going to put like this. Did I do it? No. Okay, give me an idea at home, friends. What could I do? Okay, I could do like this. No. What if I do it like this? Did I get a square? What do you think, Mabel? What should I do? Maybe try the 2 long ends together. Okay, I'm gonna try the 2 long ends. Wait a minute. Look, friends. We made a square. We used 2 triangles. We put them together, and it made a square. Whoa. Okay. Now, I noticed something when I did this. Does anyone see it? Does anyone notice what I'm noticing? Pebble, you see it? What do you see? You see 2 more empty triangles, don't you? What if I did this? Kind of looks like the back of an envelope, doesn't it? Like the ones you can send to the TV classroom? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, what did we do?
Big square.
We made a really big square. Well, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, that was really fun with the triangles. Now, I only have squares. And I want to make a rectangle. And I mean, I know squares are special rectangles, but I want to make a long rectangle. What could I do? Should we put some together? Okay, I'm going to put it together. There. Did it make a rectangle? No.
No, but I see a K.
Oh, look at that. You do see the K like this for Kevin. Nice K, Mr. Kevin. Okay, what about this? I wonder if I put this here, if that's going to make it. No, if I had one more, it'd just make a giant square. What do you think, Mabel? Maybe put not the corners together, but put the sides together? Okay. Look! We made a rectangle. Whoa. So you can take 2 squares, put the sides together, and it makes a rectangle. I wonder if I put the top sides together, what happens? Oh, look, it's still a rectangle. Okay, What would happen if I had a piece of paper? Could you put the slide up for me, Mr. Kevin? Sure. And this as well.
Oh, okay, I'll do that one.
Both. That's fine. He's going to show. There we go. Yeah. So take a look. I'm wanting to make a rectangle. Look at the picture we have. I'm going to try and make that picture with my shapes. So what do I need to put on here to make it a rectangle? What do I need to put on? Well, if I put another square on, that doesn't make a and that doesn't even fit. And I could do this, but then I have a square, rectangle, triangle thing. That doesn't work. And if I put it here, that doesn't work. So I don't think the square is the right shape. Pebble, you think another triangle? Okay, so I'm gonna put another triangle on. That's not working either. What was that, Mabel? Think back to when I made the square with the triangles, because two squares make a rectangle. Oh yeah, that's right. How do we make the square with the triangles? We put the long edges together. Oh, look, I have a rectangle. So I took my triangle and I put the long edge on, and now I have a rectangle. What if I wanted to do this and make an extra long rectangle? What would I do then? You put the triangle on, okay? And then what could I do? Friends at home, what are my options to make this an even longer rectangle? I have my two squares. How am I going to make a third square? How would you make a third square? You could just use a square. You could use two more triangles. What if I wanted to make this look like a house? What would you do to make it look like a house instead of a rectangle? What could we do? We could, put the triangle on top. So when you're drawing for your stories, for your writing, and you want to make a house, now you know, just draw a square with a triangle on top, and now you have a house. Isn't that cool? What if I wanted to make a rectangle, but I just had these little squares? What was that, Mabel? Mabel remembers that a few minutes ago, I took 3 blue squares and I realized I wasn't going to make a long rectangle. I needed a 4th blue square, and it still just made a square. Okay, so why is that important, Mabel? Oh, Mabel said, just put together the little squares, Mrs. Wally, and see if you can make a big square. Oh, look at that. I could use, we can get rid of the PowerPoint for now, Mr. Kevin. I could use little squares, 1 big square, and 2 triangles to make a really, really long rectangle. This is something that you can do at home, friends. You can take a piece of paper and have someone around you help you cut it into the shape of a square, a bunch of pieces of paper. And some of them you cut diagonal to make rectangles, and some of them you cut long and wide to make squares, and you can make all sorts of fun things. Yes, Mr. Kevin?
I just didn't know how many shapes there were in there.
Should we count them?
Yeah.
Here we go, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. we use 7 different shapes, individual shapes, or we use 1 big square, 4 small squares, and 2 triangles. Amazing. Wow. Okay, Mr. Kevin, can you leave this up and can you put up the PowerPoint? Because now we have a task at hand. Okay, they've given us 2 squares and 1 triangle, and you need to make an arrow. Can you draw on your whiteboard how you would use 2 squares and 1 triangle to make that arrow shape down on the bottom? I'm going to give you 1 minute. How are you going to do it? And how many? You have to use all 3 shapes. What are you going to do? Here's what you do. You take the 2 squares and you put them together to make a rectangle. And then you take the triangle and you put it on the end like this. And, Mr. Kevin, can you show, we have an arrow. We did it. Look at that. Nice job today, kindergarten friends. This is something you can do at home with just some paper. Cut out squares, cut out triangles. Super fun. Let's take a look at our assignment for today. You're going to do page 291 and 292 in your math workbook. You're going to tell what a triangle is. Mr. Kevin, can we get PowerPoint up? Yes. That's okay. We're full screen. Coming right up. Woohoo! Oh dear. That happens, friends. I think you got to see what it looks like back there. And there's a lot of buttons back there to push. So you're going to tell and give examples of what a triangle is. And then on the second page, you need to have someone help you if you can't read it, and that's okay in kindergarten. Have someone around you that's a reader. Read the directions to you on what you're going to draw on these shapes to make a new shape. It's going to be great. So today we learned to make squares and rectangles by combining shapes. We identified the shapes we had. We put the shapes together to create a square. We put shapes together to create a rectangle. And Mr. Kevin, if they make some fun pictures, tell them, how can they send it to us here at the TV classroom?
We'd love if you'd send us your squares, your triangles, rectangles to TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us. Ask your adult to help you. And you can also email them, or rather mail them. We already emailed them. Now we're going to mail them to TV Classroom at 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Now, friends, it's time to get ready for your time with Miss Oslin. You need to make sure you have your learning buddy ready, okay? All right, get all of your materials ready. Get ready for your break. Go to the restroom, get a drink of water, and then be back ready to learn when Miss Oslin comes on the screen. Have a great Monday, friends. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Rules 1. You have 10 seconds to pick your crewmate. 2. A new timer will appear with an exercise for the crewmate you picked. 3. You will get 10 points for each correct crewmate and exercise you choose. 4. If you pick the imposter, you will lose all your points. 5. See how many points you can get. Good luck.
Hi, kindergartners. Welcome back from your break. Excellent job being so responsible and gathering your materials and being ready for our TV lesson. Go ahead and put your learning notebook, your ELA packet if you grabbed it, and your pencil and crayons and just put them off to the side. You can keep your learning buddy with you if they are going to help you focus today. Now, let's remind ourselves what your job and my job is today and every day when we come together. It's to listen, share, read, and write. And you'll remember our active listening posture means eyes watching. Say these with me. Ears listening.
Ears listening.
Voice quiet.
Voice quiet.
Body still, if it helps you.
Body still.
And even then, you might find yourself thinking about something else. We all do. Just be patient and gentle with yourself and say, focus, self, focus.
Focus.
We are going to continue our study of fiction texts today. You will remember that fiction texts are stories that are made up in our author and illustrator's imagination. They might seem real, but they're not. They might seem not real, and they're not. Today, we are going to learn that readers reread by studying illustrations closely and thinking about what is happening so they get a better understanding of the story. What that means is you go back to a book that you've already read and you read it again by looking at the pictures and asking yourself, what is happening? And that gives you a better understanding to know what this story is about. We're going to reread a book that we already read today. We're going to reread Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And when we read the book this time, we're going to read the words, of course, but we're also going to pay really close attention to the pictures, the illustrations. And we're going to think about what's happening in the story and what the characters say and do. And we're going to use these details as clues to help us understand who Goldilocks is as a person and how she thinks and feels and acts. Now, before we even get started, let's reconnect with this story by retelling what we remember. And we're going to do that by rereading our graphic organizer that we created. It kind of looks like this, but I have it here, Mr. Kevin, for them to see my drawings. There we go. We have the characters. Oh, let's review the story elements. We must review that. Do you remember the chant that Mrs. Mays taught us? Let's do it together. This is what all fiction texts have in common. They have character, setting, beginning, middle, end. Do it again. Character, setting, beginning, middle, end. The characters are the who. This is the sign for who. Do this with me. Who is in our story? And in Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the characters are Goldilocks and the 1, 2, 3 bears. That's the who. Character, setting. The setting is the where. Do this with me to remind yourself. Where and when. Now I see we have a tree here, but we did not include the bear's house. So I need to make sure that I add the bear's house to remind me where some of the story takes place. Character, setting, beginning. Oh, in the beginning, first, Goldilocks is going through the woods. And even though her mom tells her not to, she takes the shortcut. And next, the bears go on a bike ride because their porridge is too hot at their house. And then in the middle, Goldilocks goes into their house. She eats their porridge. And after that, she takes a nap in their beds. Remember, we added the Z's to remind ourselves that she was sleeping. And the bears come home. And then at the end, Goldilocks jumps out the window and she runs off and we never see her again. Okay, now that we remember what this story is about, and what happens with all of our story elements. Let's reread Goldilocks and the Three Bears, paying really close attention to the pictures so we can figure out who our characters are. Remembering that this is a work of fiction. This could not really happen, and we know that because our characters, some of our characters are animals that wear clothes and talk. Once there was a little girl called Goldilocks. What a sweet child, said someone new in town. That's what you think, said a neighbor. Now, when I pay close attention to the illustrations, that's the picture, I can notice the character's face. I can pay attention to her eyebrows. They're kind of like this. And Goldilocks has kind of a funny smile. What is she doing? Pay close attention to the picture. Tell your learning buddy what Goldilocks is doing. Mabel, she's swinging over the fence into her neighbor's pool. And I also noticed that the neighbor is putting their hand kind of like this, saying, that's what you think, when someone else says that she seems like a sweet child. That tells me that Goldilocks might not be the best behaved person in the neighborhood. Maybe she doesn't make the safest choices. One morning, Goldilocks' mother sent her to buy muffins in the next village. You must promise not to take the shortcut through the forest, she said. I've heard that bears live there. I promise, said Goldilocks. But to tell the truth, Goldilocks was one of those naughty little girls who do exactly as they please. Now, I'm going to say that our author used the word naughty to label Goldilocks, and that makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't like people labeling anyone, kids especially, with a character trait like that to say that they're naughty. Now, maybe the actions were naughty, but Goldilocks herself, I wouldn't call her a naughty person. I might say she's adventurous. I might say she's independent, which are good, strong character traits.
So by naughty, you think she just makes some bad decisions?
Yeah, I think she makes some bad choices. Maybe she doesn't think about the outcome or how they'll impact other people.
We all do that, huh?
I have, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Wally just said me too. Same. So study Goldilocks' face there and see what she's doing. What do you see? And what ideas do you think Goldilocks has? What might she be thinking? And why is she doing what she's doing? Take some think time. Look closely at those pictures. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you notice in the pictures and what you think Goldilocks might be thinking. Mabel, I see that in the picture where Mom is on the phone, Goldilocks is going, like she might be coming up with an idea. And then where she's going into the shortcut where her mom told her not to, she's looking over her shoulder and she's got this kind of, like she knows she's doing something that she knows she shouldn't do, but she's gonna do it anyways. So I might say that Goldilocks might be a little bit mischievous, or her actions are mischievous. Sometimes she looks for trouble. Meanwhile, in a clearing deeper inside the forest, in a charming house all their own, a family of brown bears was sitting down to breakfast. Now, this is where we definitely know that this is fantasy, because we know that bears don't live in a house, and we know that bears don't sit down at a table for breakfast. "Patty!" cried big old Papa Bear. I gave him a big voice, didn't I? "This porridge is scalding." That means it's really hot. "This porridge is scalding. I've burned my tongue." "I'm dying," cried Baby Bear. I gave Baby Bear a baby voice. Now really, said Mama Bear, who was of medium size, that's quite enough. I know, said Papa Bear. Why don't we go for a spin while the porridge is cooling? Excellent, said Mama Bear. So they got on their rusty old bicycle, and off they went. Oh, look really closely at that picture. What is Goldilocks going to do? Oh, why do you think that? And what does that make you think about Goldilocks as a character? Study that illustration and think about it. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking about what Goldilocks is going to do and what you think about her as a character. Maybe she went inside the bear's house. Oh no, I'm so nervous for her. That really maybe wasn't the best decision. And I'm noticing a little tiny detail wrapped around Papa Bear's bowl of porridge. I see her little fingers, and it looks like she's going to be eating it. That seems rather sneaky. Okay, let's keep reading. But the porridge in the biggest bowl was much too hot. Patooey! Cried Goldilocks, and she spat it out. Next, she tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl, but that porridge was much too cold. Then Goldilocks tasted the porridge in the little bowl, and that was just right. Neither too hot nor too cold. In fact, she liked it so much that she gobbled it all up. Feeling full and satisfied, Goldilocks thought it would be great fun to have a look around. Right away, she noticed a lot of coarse brown fur everywhere. They must have kitties, she said. In the parlor, you'll remember that's like the living room or the family room. In the parlor, there were 3 chairs. I don't mind if I do, she said, climbing into the biggest one. But the biggest chair was much too hard, and she just couldn't get comfortable. Well, yeah, look at the illustration. She's sitting in it upside down. That's not a comfortable, independent working spot, is it? Although, look, books are all around. Materials are close by. Next, she sat in the medium-sized chair, but that chair was much too soft, and she thought she might never get out of it. Then Goldilocks sat in the little chair, and that was just right. Neither too hard nor too soft. In fact, she liked it so much that she rocked and rocked until the chair fell completely to pieces. And we can tell our illustrator, James Marshall, who's also the author, has drawn details in that picture that the chair kind of exploded. You see little bits of the chair. That helps us understand what happened to the chair. Oh, look at that first picture. Look closely. What does that tell us about what our character is feeling? She's going, ah. She's in the blue zone. And we can tell because we're looking at the picture. We're looking really closely to tell what she's feeling. Now, all that rocking left Goldilocks quite tuckered out. I could take a little snooze, she said. So you see, the words tell us that she is tired. She's going to go take a little snooze. That's like a nap. I could take a little snooze, she said. So she went to look for a comfy place to nap. Upstairs were 3 beds. I don't mind if I do, said Goldilocks. And she got into the biggest one, but the head of the biggest bed was much too high. Next, she tried the medium-sized bed, but the head of the bed was much too low. Then Goldilocks tried the little bed, and it was just right. Soon, she was all nice and cozy and sound asleep. She did not hear the bears come home. Look at that picture of her in Baby Bear's bed. She's holding onto the covers. She's got a little smile. How do you think she's feeling? Relaxed. Mrs. Wally taught us about a word, content, which means you just are calm and good. The three bears were mighty hungry. But when they went in for breakfast, they could scarcely believe their eyes. That means they could hardly believe their eyes. They could scarcely believe their eyes. "Somebody has been in my porridge," said Papa Bear. "Somebody has been in my porridge," said Mama Bear. "Somebody has been in my porridge," said Baby Bear, "and eaten it all up." Look at their faces. Do they seem very happy? Mm-mm. In the parlor, the three bears were in for another little surprise. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said Papa Bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said Mama Bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said Baby Bear, "and broken it to smithereens." Look at their eyes. Their eyes are small. They're not happy. They might be angry. We can tell by looking at the picture, can't we? The three bears went upstairs on tiptoe, not knowing what they would discover. What are they going to discover? Yeah, Goldilocks. At first, everything seemed fine, but then Papa Bear lay down in his big brass bed. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," he cried, and he was not amused. We can tell by looking at his face, the picture, can't we? We understand how the character is feeling. "Egads!" cried Mama Bear. "Somebody has been lying in my bed." "Look!" cried Baby Bear. "Somebody has been lying in my bed, and she's still there." "Now see here," roared Papa Bear. Goldilocks woke up with a start. Look at her face. Look at the details. How is she feeling? Scared, yeah. And her eyes nearly popped out of her head. But before the bears could demand a proper explanation, Goldilocks was out of bed, out the window, and on her way home. "Who was that little girl?" asked Baby Bear. "I have no idea," said Mama Bear, "but I hope we never see her again." And they never did. Look at Goldilocks' face now. Her arms are behind her like she's running. Her eyes are wide. Her brow is furrowed, and her mouth is a straight line. How do you think she's feeling now? Maybe she regrets what she did. Yeah. As we reread Goldilocks and the Three Bears today, we learned a little more about the character Goldilocks. We thought about the kind of person that she is, how she feels, how she acts, and why she behaves the way that she does. Now, is Goldilocks the kind of person that you would want to play with? Why or why not? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy. Mabel, even though Goldilocks makes some scary choices, maybe some not so safe choices, I still think that I would want to play with her because in the end, I think she learned her lesson. And I like to be around people and have people in my life who learn and grow. Now, we learned that readers, that's you and I, reread, that means read again, by studying illustrations closely and think about what is happening so we can get a better understanding of the story, including the character, setting, beginning, middle, end. Now, as you go off to do your independent reading, make sure you find a good independent reading space for you and you have your materials. I want you to look at your books that are fiction, your books that you know come from your author's imagination. Look really closely at the pictures, at the illustrations, and look for clues about the events taking place, what is happening, and how the characters are feeling, and what they're doing and why they're doing that. Your independent writing in your writing or in your learning notebook today, I want you to draw a picture of Goldilocks that shows her actions. And think about what you think about Goldilocks. Label your picture including that word. Maybe you think she's mischievous. Maybe you think she's a learner because she learned from her behaviors. I don't know. It's up to you. So you're going to do some thinking and some writing and some coloring, and you can send that to us here and we'll put it up in our TV classroom. Mr. Kevin, how can our kindergarten friends send us their picture of Goldilocks?
Friends, find your adult and have them help you. Send us an email at tvclassroom@tacoma.k12.wa.us. Or you can, of course, use regular mail and have it mailed and delivered to TV Classroom at 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Now, kindergartners, it is time for our affirmation. This is the time in our lesson when we get to say positive things about ourselves before we go off to complete our independent work. And today, I want you to remind yourself that you are a strong, independent worker. So you're going to say out loud, I am a strong, independent worker. Say it with me. I am a strong, independent worker. Excellent job today, kindergartners. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow in our TV classroom. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.